So somebody bought the house and then, so we're.
Yeah, they're fixing it up.
So
They're-
we'll get resources coming back off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
Lucas. What do you want, John?
We're back on board.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
well, we might as well go through this and then go back. And while we're on ordinances, this will be the first reading of 2017-02, which will be ordinance establishing a policy on blanket certificates pursuant and in conjunction with ORC 5705.41D. It said certificates not exceeding a certain sum of money and then we have to put this in here at a later date when we find out what we can go up to. Against any specific line item account not run beyond the end of the current fiscal year in the village of Bettsville, Ohio. And this was another audit job to do, replace one of the items. So this will be a first reading.
what's your amount?
We don't have an amount, we gotta figure out what we can do. We got it blank here right now, but we'll, before the next one, we'll have
For
the amount
second
that we
reading,
get. The second
you can
reading, we'll
put it
put
in.
an amount in there, cause we gotta
Okay.
make sure we know. Right one.
We
Okay.
were prepared to do it.
Ordinance 2017-03, an ordinance establishing a policy that deposits not exceeding $1,000 can be held up to 3 business days before deposit in the village of Bettsville, Ohio. So that'll be the first reading, and that's to take care of the audit too. In 2017-04, the ordinance rehiring magistrate Thomas McDermott as magistrate for night court and establishing a rate of pay for $125 per session attended by the magistrate for the village of Bettsville, Ohio. We can't declare that one an emergency either, so that'll be first reading.
I'll agree after that, I got an amendment to a resolution too, I was talking about new business as well.
A resolution?
Yeah, I got here, it's amendment to resolution 2016-14 for the 2017 budget. And basically, we have to, there was a zero put in there on the original resolution, and this account number is 5701-891. That's other misleading operating, and we need to put $2,509.94 in there. So basically, we gotta make a resolution, to put that back into the new budget, because we missed it, because there was a zero there, so.
You're amending,
correct?
you're amending your temporary budget already then? So-
Yes.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah.
What resolution that's gonna be?
It's got this amendment to,
amendment.
Oh, it's amendment?
it's
to-
amendment to a resolution 2016-14,
Oh, okay,
it's 2017 budget.
okay.
So we caught the mistake and then.
So that's the first reading on that resolution
Okay.
then, since there's only 4 people.
Yeah. And we'll all have to sign it, so. Can I sign it now, or sign, signatures on it? We gotta wait till the third reading in.
We gotta get the-
4 or 5 people.
Yeah,
So I'll give this to Janet if we don't lose it, but,
So
yeah,
you
we
need
just
it
put
again.
right on the top of it, first reading,
okay.
and date it today.
Yeah, January 3rd.
And, Jackson Township, we have the Jackson Township fire contract that we have to approve. We're gonna be bringing in, township shall pay fire company for said services on a semi-annual basis for a term of 1 year from the date of the agreement. The sum of $27,200, semi-annual payments of $13,600 to be paid in June and December.
We need a motion to
There, we have to accept it.
accept that one.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
And I'll second it.
Scott,
Yes.
Joyce,
Yeah.
Bill,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
What we gotta sign that too. Angela has to sign it. Okay, then we have to make a motion to accept the magistrate.
I'll make a motion to accept the magistrate report.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Joyce,
Yeah.
Bill,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
While we're on that, is there any other new business that you come before us? I got some things to read next,
I guess we're going back.
so. That's okay, huh?
I was gonna ask, Rick, where we was at with the park as far as, got thinking, for this annexation in, do we have all the legal documents resolved in?
We're waiting for a letter back from,
Basic?
Basic.
Okay,
He sent one out on the 26th of October, didn't get anything, so he sent one out.
I've heard from
December.
Vesuvius, though. Vesuvius is good with us.
okay,
I mean, they're in agreement.
okay,
I think but they just said they're in agreement. Once I hear from Basic, I may just send them both an affidavit to sign, because I'm
Okay.
still not getting that, so,
okay.
but I haven't heard anything from
Okay.
Basic. Once I got back, I looked
Okay.
in my mail, didn't
Okay.
have anything, so I
Okay.
sent another letter out. The
Okay.
letters are going to, the address from the tax office where the real estate is dealt with.
Okay,
So I know it's going to the right place, cause they
Okay.
mail their taxes in there.
okay,
But maybe they're in the Philippines at the same time, right?
okay, yeah, okay, we just gotta stay on top of it, I just wanna get that done, so it's behind us, and that way it's done.
Yeah,
Because once we get that done, we gotta go talk to the township anyhow regularly, once we have that,
well, once we get that back, it'll be a pretty much done deal,
okay,
but we will do that, yes.
yeah, okay.
hey Gary,
Uh-huh.
do you have the other contractors too that he needs to sign?
Did I? Oh, let me have it right here.
Okay. Okay, we don't have any other new business, we'll go back to the old business here. For the police department, like I say, there's a whole bunch of rumors floating around it. We're gonna end it in March and all this and that. They know more than we do, I guess. But yeah, they picked March, that's gonna be the end of the police department. But I did get with the sheriff again and got some figures, and this is just to bring out to everybody so that we know what we're looking at. If we went with the contract with the sheriff's department for 30 hours per week for a deputy, it would cost us $55,246.36. That's for 30 hours.
What we're paying now.
And they would assign, he figures on assigning the one deputy, the same one here all the time. He would do the whole 30 hours. And he would use the police station and do the tickets and everything. Like the tickets that he writes, he would write on the Betsville ordinance and they would come back to Betsville.
So he'll be on site those 30 hours?
Right, he'll be on site those times, he won't be leaving. When he's on duty here. And, another thing that we had, cause I sat down with Brandon and we talked about some different things that he brought up and, the on-site thing was it, and if the tickets would go to us instead of the county, or they actually go to the state when the sheriff's department writes them, they don't go to the county. Is what he told me. And the other couple of things, Brandon, was what,
If there was vacation, it would be covered.
Yeah, and he said it would be definitely
They
covered.
wouldn't be handling calls outside of the village during the time that they're supposed to be here unless it was an emergency.
Right, he said they wouldn't leave the village and they wouldn't have to go outside of town if he was here on duty. Unless it was very, very big deal or something that they had to take him off. But he said it would be. So that's what we was looking at there on, this is just ideas and, with Brandon, we figured the budget this year is probably gonna be around $86,000 if, when we hire a chief, put at $15 an hour and that, and the other officers and stuff, it would run 86,000 compared to 55. And another, I think, another deal would be that if the sheriff's was here and they did something wrong, the sheriff's department would still be held responsible, we wouldn't be,
We have a liability.
we wouldn't have the liability.
Yeah, yeah.
But, I mean, this is, I'm just bringing all the facts and figures out to you guys, it's your guys' decision.
They'd be using the sheriff's car?
Yep,
Yeah.
be using their gas, all their stuff.
Yeah. I'd say the other thing that I think is important to discuss too is that look at the quality of maybe the person you would have. What I'm saying is they would probably be making more money than what we can afford to pay, I mean, as a sheriff deputy. And what I'm getting at is that, I mean, we wanna make sure that you have good competent people, and the thing is, if you don't have enough money and then you have people that have less skills or something like that, then you have more liability if they make mistakes or whatever, or do something they probably shouldn't be doing or something like that, then you're liable for it. If they, beat up somebody or get a little bit too aggressive or any of those things that could happen, I guess, so that's always the
I mean,
danger.
I think we got good officers here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm not saying we don't, but I'm
I
just
don't
saying,
think we have a problem with that, it's,
No, but I
you
think-
gotta be kind of frugal with,
yeah,
I mean, we gotta think of what's best for the village.
I think that we got lucky with Brandon and
Yeah.
the people he worked with coming from Fostoria and,
Right.
you know,
yeah.
a little higher level of training,
Right.
I'm assuming.
Mhm.
You can't always count on that kind of luck.
All right, yeah.
We've had some people that are homegrown, good people, but maybe not as worldly as
Well, they aren't gonna
sometimes
stay here long enough at $10 an hour or
No,
so.
they move
Well,
on.
You know, they
We
keep
decide-
moving
we
on
decide-
because, you know, they get better jobs, you know.
We said we'd put the resumes out
Yeah.
at $15 an hour, that's
Or
what
that was, I thought that was just for the chief.
Yes, that is for the chief.
Well, are we only gonna have a chief, or are we gonna
No,
have a chief, a
I
couple
mean,
people?
no, I'm saying we're talking about the other officers too,
Yeah,
because what's John making now? He's making,
I'm not sure exactly, but, it's obviously gonna be less than that, so he makes more than I do.
you know, everybody makes more than you do, right?
That's not why I'm here, so.
Yeah. No, and we appreciate you being here too, so that was, we was lucky on that part.
well, I think you have other costs you have to take into consideration too, is, I mean, if you don't have the vehicle cost, the gas cost, all those things on top of what we have. And then you also have, I mean, like Brandon was saying, I mean, as I understand it, as we're moving forward, the standards for police officers are getting tougher, so there's more training involved that they have to go to, that we're gonna have to either subsidize or something, that they stay current. Plus, there's probably, you look at the retirement program and all those things, like, look at all that stuff, that's all moving forward too. That's gonna be incurred costs that, on top of the base salary that we're talking about right now with the contract. I think the issue is with the contract, you have the option of, you have a little bit more control, you can be specific on what it is and make a contract, and these are what the parameters of the contract is. And I think you look at a contract too, you have to look at also the election cycle, you gotta make sure that the contract carries through election cycles, and somehow we make sure that, if you have a change of sheriffs or whatever, that
We
your
could
contract
make
won't get
it,
screwed up or
he
whatever.
said we could make it anything we want, we could do a year contract, we could do a 3-year contract, we could do what we wanted to do. He said he was game at anything, he said if you wanted to try it for a year, that's fine too, he didn't care. He was pretty flexible in that way.
But I mean, what I'm saying, you wanna hedge your bets, is what I'm getting at, explore your possibility, because if, for instance, right now we have a good relationship with this sheriff, for instance, with this contract, but if he gets voted out, somebody else comes in, there might be a difference of opinion on how he looks at, policing for us or whatever. So if we had a contract or something, like already passed, whatever the election cycle was, if the election
He
cycle
was
was 4
just
years.
elected,
So I mean, every 4 years, what, is that what it is for sure?
4 years, yeah.
So you could do, say, a 3-year contract or a 5-year contract or something, so that way you would not hit the contract would not come.
Do it the same time
Time
he
of the
left
election.
office, right?
I mean, does that make sense to you guys? I mean, I'm just thinking this through a little bit, so.
I see what you're saying, but I'm not sure that we'd be any worse off than we are, I mean,
Yeah,
what we're looking at down the road with Brandon leaving.
well, the issue comes down to that, once we start down, for instance, just looking at from a bigger view, if you go down this path and go with the contract and basically disband your police department and go with the service, then to start up our own police force again after the contract, we decide to do something different, might be a little more challenging, is all I'm saying, you know, just, cause once you disband something, then you gotta restart it, then, you know, it's like anything else, you have to rebuild everything, so,
And you gotta remember, we're getting one officer compared to,
yeah.
I don't know what we got, 4.
So we gotta think about those things, and then I think maybe too, I mean, just looking at the bigger picture, I mean, how do we handle Magistrate Court and all that stuff, the sheriff, do we just go to the county, you know,
They won't.
county or whatever, I don't know, I'm not gonna see, we gotta figure out all those things, cause then you got a judge involved, which is what,
$25.
every time he comes for the court, and then, you know, the keep.
Then you got Linda's
Linda's wages and all those things, so those are all costs right now we're incurring, so.
I personally like the thought of our own police force being here, although I will say that I think we're being challenged by the amount of turnovers I've seen just in the time I've been on council. You know, and that, not that it's a huge burden, but it does take us, time away from other things we can devote ourselves to. We have to discuss it and figure out what we're gonna do and go job searching again, and we've been pretty lucky. Doesn't mean we're always gonna be lucky.
Right.
And we're gonna need a new cruiser.
Has anybody talked about the possibility of having a, person in the village, like a police chief, and have a contract with the sheriff's department? I know we discussed that at one time.
Well, I guess we have to do the cost, and I guess we can put numbers to it, so what, we didn't know what the cost for contract was with the sheriff's department yet, so we have a number we can start working with. Then we have to look at, you know, what it costs to have somebody else on, so. I guess the other thing comes down to is, we wanna make sure that which way we go, because we gotta be fair that once, if we're gonna ask for resumes and then go through the due diligence of making sure these people are competent, you know, we gotta be fair that, you know, we're gonna go one way or another, and then if we do go our due diligence and find competent people, you know, then that's what we're gonna do, you know.
It may not even be in the form of a police chief, it may be in the form, I don't know if the sheriff's department uses auxiliaries. I know a lot of these departments do, and there might be somebody that's capable, local. Because it's nice to have that, rapport between, the
Officers.
officers and like the schools and stuff like that.
Right.
Is this something you guys are gonna bring up at tonight?
That's something, I don't want it to become so impersonal that
Right.
that they don't know who their neighborhood cop is.
Well, I think that the goal is to have good community policing, right? And that's what we want.
That-
We want-
that's the
we-
number one thing.
You know, we
That's
want
number one
interaction
thing.
with the community and,
We just gotta look and see what we're giving up.
yeah,
Well, we were told that the plan was to have the same officer.
Yeah, the same officer will be here and he'll be out
That
there
may work
talking
out
about.
just fine, I'm just saying it's
Right.
something we need to think, I'm assuming we're just talking about. it.
Yes,
that's what we're
yeah.
talking about right now,
Yeah.
but I just wanna talk in public, because I think this is an important thing, it's gonna be a hot issue with a lot of people.
Sure it is.
You know, and the issue has come down to, well, we gotta look at it, you know, from the bigger picture, you know, the cost, and what makes sense, and what we can afford, because like Gary was saying, we do have to replace the police cruiser here before long, that's gonna be $30,000 or some number, and all those things that's gonna have to come up, because, you know, and then what about the service where you go on the network and stuff like that, so you're tied into the, you know, so you can get, you know, run plates and all that stuff, all those things,
That costs us.
it's costing some money too for that kind of
that
stuff,
costs us
right?
per year, correct?
Yeah, so there's a cost
There's a
for,
lot of costs.
I mean, there's a lot of
Just
costs
train, I
involved.
remember year after year, they come up, they say they gotta qualify for this. No, it's not a lot of money, but
no, but
it adds up.
it adds up and you know, for all together, so, and I just want it to be open and fair, you know, cause I mean, we got good people and I don't wanna think that we don't care about what we have, but on the same token, you know, you have to look at all the options
You
and
don't,
try to do the right thing, what we can afford, what makes sense.
what, you just hanging around till they know
I
what they're
know pretty
doing?
quite often when there's anything major,
Theory, I
it's
guess.
usually the sheriff
Okay.
department anyway.
Right.
Okay, okay, yeah, I'm just wondering what I wanna say, okay.
You know, I guess too, maybe, just looking at another point, but if we do bid a contract with, say, the sheriff department, maybe we define what the expectation is, I mean, not only the hours, but how we interact with the community or something, or things like that, you know, I mean, that's.
Well, and that's one thing he told me, he says that that's why I wanna assign one guy to it, where he can get out and be known in the public, out in the village and
That's
stuff.
my only.
Yeah, I mean, that's
He says
important too,
that, that's
because,
what he expects him to do, and that's why he wants to sign one guy and not somebody every other time, you don't know who's gonna be here.
but not only that, they get to know, they know the people, so they know the players in town, you know, they know who the kids are, who the, you know, the troubled areas and all those things, they learn those things and they understand those people and how to interact with them, because, you know, there's different ways of interacting with all those different issues we have.
The one big plus I see for it is, I know right now, with Brandon, we have a certain level of training, and there's a worldly sense. Brandon was discussing several months ago about there's statistically human trafficking and drugs traveling up Route 12 every day.
All right.
You know, there was a time when we had police in this town that were local people that may unnecessarily expose themselves to danger just because of the amount of training that we can afford to give them.
Right.
That I think, you know, we can be cognizant of putting their life on the line.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's my plus for the sheriff department.
I think what you're saying, I mean, I think that's part of the understood thing about taking this job, is a lot of those unknown risks and stuff. And, you know, yeah, I know training and stuff can be costly, but I think one of the biggest things in you guys deciding this is some of the things that I see coming down the pipeline with the Ohio Collaborative Group, some of the standards that they're gonna require now because of, you know, some of the public backlash for some of the shootings and some of the incidents that happen in some of the cities. I think they're gonna require a lot more standards in our hiring, and I think the only problem with that is, you know, having this being a training ground is what we think about in the cities is we think about the villages as a training ground for those officers to come to learn at a slow pace, to learn from good people, and then to move on to the full-time departments a lot of times. And I think that the Ohio Collaborative thing that they're coming out with now is they're gonna require a lot of the same standards for hiring full-time officers, for the villages, and that's gonna be costly. If we have the turnover, now, we've been very lucky, we've had Melissa and we've had John and Jason for quite a while now, we've had a good core group of people. So we haven't had those costs, or we wouldn't have those costs if that Ohio Collaborative, some of those standards got into place, but unfortunately with some of the turnover that you guys have discussed, it can be costly if we continue to have that turnover, should we move forward with keeping the police department.
That to me, that's either, I think the safety and training is number one, and number two is our turnover.
Right.
Because as we have to pay for this training, because it's mandated by the government, all of a sudden what we're doing is we're training people for their next job.
Right.
Yeah. And that's kind of what it is, and I mean,
That's how
I
it
think you
works.
hit it right on the head, that's how it works, but, a lot of times you get some of those officers to come back and help out. So, I mean, it's kind of a give and take situation.
Thanks, Bonnie. I guess the other question I have, can you do a hybrid? Can you have the sheriff department manage police source, like a police source, or police department within the village or something, or I have an officer and work for them, or work together somehow? Is that be done
Where I was
too?
going with the auxiliary.
Yeah, I mean, is that,
Because auxiliary, you don't have the responsibility as much as you would the trained.
But then you're gonna have the same thing where, you know, we're worried about the training and stuff, those auxiliary officers don't get near the training as the full-time officers. I think you'd be doing more of a disservice by having, nothing against them, they devote their time and stuff, but I think you'd be doing a disservice because I think that the part-time officers we have get more training and more understanding from working than an auxiliary would. So I think you'd be further behind the 8 ball to do it. That's kind of bad.
So we would be unwittingly putting them at risk.
I think so, and I think we wouldn't be getting as quality, competent as we would if you were to either keep the part-time people that we have, or to go with a quote-unquote full-time sheriff's deputy. So I think that would kind of be counterproductive, because those people wouldn't be getting the training that the full-time person gets, so, and that's obviously some of your concern is the liability of those people not getting.
well, not only that, but I think we don't want people to get hurt, but we also want, you know, like Melissa, they're confident people, and we
Right.
want, and we want to make sure that they have learning power, right? I mean, that's what this
Right.
whole thing's about, because you know, we're all working together here, and we're all trying to do the right thing for the people that work in the community, as well as the community itself, you know, we wanna be fair to everybody and try to find a balance there, you know, and I mean, so my question is, you know, looking at the bigger picture, I mean, how can we integrate some of this stuff, or what is the right direction, I don't know. I guess, you know, but I think if we're on the table, we need at least to talk about it, because we do know that these incurred costs to the villages and the small municipalities and stuff within the state, probably nationwide, is getting tougher and tougher because of the, you know, things just cost more money.
That's one of the biggest selling points to me is the fact that we're not responsible for the training. The sheriff's department be responsible, and we don't have, not only don't have to pay for the training, we don't have to manage the training,
Right.
which is huge.
Yeah. That's-
Right now, last year, there was 11 hours of state mandated training that you had to do, every officer, no matter if they're auxiliary, full-time, part-time, had to do. Now, the state does reimburse us for that, so it is a funded mandate. Next year, that goes up to 20 hours, but it's at no cost to us theoretically, they pay us for the hours or whatever, we were to charge up to a certain rate, so those mandated trainings, are covered. So that's not really an expense, it is difficult to manage to make sure, cause obviously we don't see each other on a daily basis, so,
Right.
you know, we can do a lot of correspondence through emails and text to make sure that they have this, because if they don't, they could be disqualified. So that's the hard part, but that's something that's my responsibility, and I make sure that it gets done. I think the training that we're talking about is some of the, training that you're, not mandated training, but, optional training that some of the full-time people get compared to some of the part-time. Now, they're eligible to go to these trainings, but some of them can be very costly, so.
Yeah. Could be like soft skills and interacting with people and things like that.
So if we went, say like with the sheriff person, okay, 30 hours, 20 hours a week? What,
30.
30 hours a week, okay. Can you still have like a part-timer around coming in,
I
or
don't
is it
think-
only one way or the highway?
I would assume, I can't speak for the sheriff, but I would assume that it's gonna be, we're not gonna have, cause right now we kinda have that, where if we're not working, they come over and assist and handle calls for us. So we kinda have that now, I don't think that they'll do like we have somebody like kinda working under his command, because I don't
They're
know that
not
they
gonna
can do
wanna
that. They're-
babysit.
Right,
Yeah.
right, they're not gonna wanna babysit. I mean, it's
I
it's not babysitting, but I understand what you're saying.
Well,
But they don't wanna have to manage it, they got their own.
Just to cut to the chase, though,
Right,
they're looking at somebody that they would have to be
right.
Responsible.
for and training, and.
And then there's a lot of
that's-
vicarious liability in that.
And
so
that's probably gonna change the bottom line of the code, I'd imagine.
yeah.
So they may
I
not
would
be
assume,
willing to do that.
without speaking to the sheriff, that's probably not an option,
Yeah.
just by my understanding of how it works.
Okay, well, that's what we were talking
But
about.
that's what we wanted to put out there, so that we,
But I think that we need to start thinking, I mean, in the short term, as far as making one decision one way or another, because, I mean, you know, Brandon's been kind to us, and he stayed past work where he thought he was gonna stay, so I just wanna make sure that we just don't put this off and don't.
No,
direction.
but since you brought that up, do you have any plans, Brandon? You're gonna leave?
Well, my plan was June of last year, about 6 months after I took my current position, that kinda went by the wayside, and then.
No, just a gut reaction, I mean.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, I
so-
said January, and that obviously is, or December, and that's come and gone, and I said March. I guess I'd like to, I don't know if I'd like to stay, but I'm willing to stay and help you guys either figure out what you're gonna do. And if you're going to contract, then I'll help that transition. If you're going to stick with the officers we have, then I'll help the new chief transition into that. Obviously, I have lots of
But the issue comes
family stuff
down,
in town, I'm concerned about the transition either way, so I wanna make sure it goes smoothly.
what I'm getting at, you're gonna have to get resumes, if you decide to stay with the police department, then we need to,
we gotta get the resumes out.
well, we gotta figure out how we're gonna.
I would like to, I guess as an extra strategy, be gone by the end of March.
So, what we need to do is bring Steve and Stan up to speed at the next
Yeah.
meeting.
And then start
And
moving
if
forward.
possible, make a decision, which way
Yeah.
we're gonna go.
Yeah, I agree, but I think,
Because we're not, I mean, right, the next meeting after that's March,
right,
Right.
yeah.
we have to decide by then.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't wanna put that pressure on you to make a decision based on my leaving, I mean,
No, we just need to
But-
understand what we need to work with, it's not, the pressure doesn't bother me at all.
Right, right.
I mean, we can make a decision. on
Well,
it.
I think that, I mean, you look at the financial and the personnel and then,
Oh, financial, I don't think there's any question
yeah,
there. the financials are done deals.
But on the same token, I wanna be fair with the existing employees too,
Right.
you know, I mean, we don't wanna put, you know, cause it's gonna affect the existing
I mean,
employees.
just cruisers, the amount of equipment, amount of training and all that, I don't think there's any, for 55,000 a year, I don't think there's any question.
But you're not getting as many hours as we covered, also you're not getting the variety of hours. If you get a sheriff's deputy in here, they're gonna work one shift, and that's the shift they're gonna work. It's not gonna be
Understand?
getting called in, and it's not going to be, we want you to work days today and afternoons, and midnights the next day, kinda how we have that flexibility now.
But the
with
issue is,
multiple officers.
but the issue is if you do have a contract with the sheriff department and he has fixed hours or whatever, if there is something happens, the sheriff department's gonna respond anyhow.
Correct.
On the off hours or if they have to or something anyhow.
Or just like they do now.
Just like they do now, so I
That's
don't
true.
think it's gonna be,
But the response time isn't gonna be like what it would
No,
if he were here.
no, I agree, that's
You
gonna
know,
be the issue.
there's things to be sacrificed no matter which way we go.
Right.
Yeah,
I just wanna try to give you guys the best picture either way.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I understand, cause it, I mean, it impacts Melissa and John, all, I mean, cause that's the danger of this whole thing. You know, I understand that too, cause I don't take that lightly, cause I know, you know,
No, we cannot take it lightly.
cause I've been there before in those positions where something shuts down and, then it's like you start all over again.
It's hard to
It's
start.
hard, so I've been there, so I respect that.
You end up
So-
putting a lot of hours in to get something like that done once you cut it off.
Yeah. So I understand that too, so I mean, it is what it is, I mean, it's reality. So, but it's on the table now, and I think we're having an honest discussion, and we might have some different positions, which is okay, I think we need to discuss those positions, but then at the end of the day, we have to look at all the pieces and see what makes sense for us.
Well, if you guys have individual questions, it's obviously in an hour and a half to 2 hours, you can't think about all the questions that you may have that
Right.
pertain to it, so if you do, just get a hold of me and I'll try to answer the best I can or find the answer for you.
Can't ask for more than
Okay, so, you guys you probably ought to talk to Steve and
that.
Stan
We
before
got
this.
Steve and Stan.
Before this, so they can at least start thinking about it, So we opened Pandora's box tonight,
It's open.
It's open now, so,
I think it's been open for a while anyway, to be quite honest with you,
Yeah.
yeah.
as far as Pandora goes.
No, we can't really do that. We're not done yet.
See, you can put your
You can
arm
put your coat
in
on,
the
yeah.
sleeve, I mean,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Don't look like you're gonna race out the door, cause I'm gonna trip you.
You haven't seen me race, have you?
No.
Gotta get one watch.
I only got one other thing, and I just wanted to bring up, John's hours. I just wanted to keep you posted on what overtime is.
Okay,
He gets paid for, he's in overtime every time he's here at our council meetings. Anything over 8, he has, the first week, the week of 12/6, he had 4 hours of overtime, and that was nothing, but then from this pay period here, he had some snow plowing in, we have to have this school with the contract that we signed with him.
right,
He has to come in and get that done early in the morning. And so far, this pay period here, we paid him 30 hours of overtime.
okay, yeah, that's what I expected, when you have those
So
expenses,
I
those,
just wanted to let you know, the last 2 pay periods,
have 3 or 4 hours.
we had 34 hours of overtime, times $30.71, that's $1,044.14.
How much?
$1,044.14.
For maintenance department?
No, I mean, it is what
It
it is.
is what it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
So, I mean,
we've entered the contracts, and at the end of the day, too, I mean, honestly, we have to serve the whole community, because a lot of people work days, but a lot of people work other shifts, like, my wife, she goes at like 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever, so.
yeah,
So
oh, yeah.
not everybody, starts at 7 o'clock in the morning or whatever, so you just gotta find that balance, or
Well, you can't, cause you gotta have the school done so that you know what they're doing.
I'd rather you guys yell at John and me get yelled at by Teresa.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, it would be-
Well, I had to come in at 10:30 the other night
oh,
to
yeah.
shut
middle
off
of
somebody's
the night.
water because they had a leak in their wall.
Yeah,
Yeah, water running down their walls, so we had to come in and turn the water off.
and also,
That's the stuff.
also Angela's giving me her work, what she's doing, and she's tasked this or whatever too, so I'm getting that as well, so we do have accountability now as far as she's showing me what she's doing when she's here and all that stuff, so I do have a list here, so I think what I do is start give that report to everybody, every, you know, that we have a written record of what's going on, so at least you understand what people are doing. So,
Need that for the fire department too, do you?
Now we watch you.
Going to,
Just curious. I don't know if I had to start making records.
no, we're just trying to, you know,
But we want to just get this out.
we're just trying to
Keep
get,
everything transparent, so. Do that.
it's a good
I
email.
wasn't here tonight as it was, they wanted me to work overtime tonight.
well,
Good thing you said no.
No, that's, no, I can't let it.
Thanks, Rob.
No, I'm just
You know,
sick
it
of
cost
the
him,
place.
cost him
Yeah.
$3,000 to come here tonight. you know?
Yeah, probably,
Retirement.
but,
I gave charge.
yeah. So, I don't have anything else, does anybody else have anything
No, I
to
think we
bring up?
covered that, I can think of. At least we've had a good discussion tonight, I think, it wasn't,
can we make a motion to
We get a
adjourn?
different flag.
You could, oh,
Yeah.
there's a program you wanna see.
Yeah,
Take
yeah.
this thing out and put a flag
I
right
have an
here.
Israeli flag if you want.
No.
No,
no, we don't want
Oh,
that.
not that different.
No, we don't want it.
Did anybody, do you have to second that?
No.
No,
but you're making a motion to adjourn?
yeah, mhm.
Okay.
She made that half hour.
Yeah, okay, well, once he's trying to put a coat on, we're adjourned.